Hey, what's going on? We're back on our BKFC Reddit. Ask me anything. We're joined by Cody Vidal. Your eyes scare me. Does it hurt?
Not at all. It feels victorious. That little bit of soreness, that tightness you feel in your face, the soreness you feel in your hands, and whatnot, that is now synonymous with victory with me. And so when I wake up in the morning, this is not me trying to sound strong or tough or sound more important than I am. It feels good.
Now, I'm going to be honest. Like, I feel like it was kind of a controversial decision. Like, I honestly thought you won. I thought you were winning the fight prior to the eye pokes, and then you take away the point for the eye poke, and I thought it was very clear that you had won. I don't understand how it was a draw. Looking at the stats for the fight, I don't understand how it was a draw. What are your thoughts on
You ever see the movie Scarface?
it? I have.
The eyes never lie, Chico. Look us in the eyes before the fight is announced, before the decision is announced. Brandon's not confident, just like he wasn't confident going into the fight. No disrespect, Brandon. He wasn't confident. He wasn't confident in the decision. He literally looked at me and he goes, "You got me?" And I go, "What?" He goes, "You got me?" I go, "Yeah." And I
Yeah.
just was smiling the entire time with my head held high. And then Big Dan walks up, looks at him, and goes, "You're not going to be happy with the decision." So, and it's because he warned him. He warned him about the eye poke. So even if it was really a draw, the eye poke would have made me the winner. But if you look at the statistics, BKFC released the punch stats. The punch stats are all in my favor.
Sure.
One round, third round, fifth round, all in my favor. Overall, all in my favor. And then you can't judge it based on punch stats, so you do a replay. If you do a replay, not once was I fucking hurt. And I walked up to Dave Feldman after that fight, and I said, "Hey, Dave, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't knock him out. I know you wanted a knockout." And he goes, "No, it's okay. You fought your ass off." I said I wasn't gonna let him hit me with a left hook to the chin, and that's why he was ripping into my body. And he goes, "Those were the two hardest liver shots I've ever fucking seen," and I ate them.
There is nothing like getting hit in the liver. Like it makes most men shut down. How did you power through that?
Man, between the power of God, prayer, between all the hypnotherapy I do, and just between being who I am, I'm a fucking champion. That's how.
Now I'm gonna be honest. Like I envisioned this fight. I envisioned him coming out. Usually, you got the muscle bound dudes. They want to come out. They want to throw heavy punches right away because they know they don't have the gas tank to go five. Their plan is to try to get you out one or two. He was a lot more like it was a much more methodical, much more calculated fight. Like credit to him. Like I said, he completely changed how I thought it was gonna go. You did fine. Like I like you did what you do. It was very calculated fight on both guys. I didn't see this going five, is what I'm basically getting at.
Well, I want to address the issue that I see on comment sections, and the comments are coming from people that don't know how to fight, right? But they're
Sure.
like saying that that was a terrible co-main event. How can you have a terrible co-main event in a bare knuckle fight of 5 rounds where both guys are methodically chopping each other to pieces?
Sure.
That doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, of course, it wasn't a first round knockout in the first 10 seconds. I think people become bloodthirsty. They become knockout hungry when they see that. But I think for true fight fans, that was an amazing war. I mean, I had fun.
Sure. It's interesting because on the Reddit, I have guys that are like, if it's not a first round knockout, they're like, oh, this is boring. It got out of the first. And then I have other people that go like, there is nothing more like, there was like three one punch knockouts. And they're like, that does nothing for me. I'd rather see two guys go 5 rounds killing each other. So it was a great mixture. You had two fights on the card that went the 5 rounds. Both of them were slobber knockers. And then you had the mixture. So to me, it was a phenomenal card.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal card. And going back to my fight, Brandon says that he underestimated me. I also underestimated him. I did tell myself I'm expecting the best version of him, and I did get the best version of him because he looked way better than any of his other fights. He did
Sure.
drop an extra 20 pounds, but Brandon was quick. He punched linear. His punch selection was amazing. So respect to you, Brandon. I'm a massive fight fan. I'm a really good coach too. Just not just a mental coach, but a boxing coach, wrestling coach, and the punch selection was amazing. It was amazing. I remember feeling everything. I was like, that's a jab, that's a cross, that's an overhand, that's a liver shot, right? I felt it all. And I just know that there's nobody in BKFC that could take the punches that I could take and walk through the fire that I walk through. And the point is this, nobody's done it. Who do you know that's been punched 195 times with no gloves on and hasn't even been wobbled yet, let alone, who? In my
Absolutely.
3 fights, I go by the punch stats on BKFC. I've been punched 195 times and I have not even fucking wobbled.
No, like I said, you are clearly built for this. This is for you. Like that's why I'm so glad that bare knuckle came around, because there's so many MMA guys who either the ground game was their shortcoming or their stand up was a shortcoming, and now like this is the perfect example for somebody like you who is built for this sport, who can stand there, can take a punch, can give a punch, and like you just said, you've never been hurt, and you put on a phenomenal show. Like all three of your fights so far, I've been a big fan of yours.
Thank you so much. So there are many fighters that make excuses, right? I'm giving you explanations. Okay? What you saw me do in a 5 round fight in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania was reminiscent of the first Rocky movie where he fights with Apollo and he goes the distance and he goes, Yo, Adrian, I did it. He just wanted to go the distance. I wanted to win the fight. I wanted to win
Sure.
the fight. I wanted to win the fight in dominant fashion. But I'm also realistic at looking at what I see. Connolly has a thick neck, a big skull. He's shorter. He's got the leverage. Okay. I'm usually the shorter guy. Okay. So I knew that to knock him out, I would have to have a properly placed punch on a key point that knocks him out. Because if I don't punch him properly, I'm going to hit him in his skull. I'm probably going to break my hand. And I don't, I want to make sure that my hands are durable throughout every single round because of the first fight that I had in BKFC. I mashed my hand up immediately. And that was not fun fighting with one. So, with that said, there's no excuses. It's an explanation. I'm not going to tell you what injuries I had in all my fights, but I've had 2 major injuries going through these fights. And you see what I do with those major injuries.
Sure. Let me ask you this: How do you fight? How do you fight this? Like that was the one thing I noticed the whole fight. Like the John Jones fingers in the eye. Like
Brandon. That's what I said to Brandon afterwards. I said he was apologizing to me. He's apologizing to me during the fight, and he's apologizing to me after the fight. And I said, hey man, it's a bad habit. Even John Jones has it. He's the best in the world, right? So people have habits, and those
sure,
habits are typically based in fear. Okay. He knows he doesn't have good head movement. He knows he's a shorter fighter. He knows he's fighting really tall guys a lot of times. Okay. I'm not saying Brandon's a coward. Okay. Brandon's a tough guy. Brandon's a strong guy. Okay. And I respect Brandon. But going forward, he needs to cure that habit because it's going to cost him a fight one way or the other. And when you're talking about how do I go around that, well, you've got to cut angles. Um, you've got to maybe hand trap, which I didn't do enough of. Um, and so that's my fault. But I did everything I could without giving too much detail and throwing anybody under the rug. I let it be known before this fight that that was going to happen, and it still fucking happened.
sure. So again, let me ask you this: So like you go up and like you said, you let it known, and clearly the referees knew. It was funny to, and I say funny, but it also sucked. Like you would watch him do it to you, and then he would catch himself. Oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. He would actually like scold himself after he like almost finger poked you in the eye. Like he knew what he was doing was wrong, and he still couldn't stop doing it.
And then he punched me in the face right after saying, sorry, bing. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Like, is that really like, is that part of his game? Like, at that point, you start to think to yourself, like, is he doing hand tricks on me? Like, here we go. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Bing. Like, or here we go. Liver shot. Like, come
sure.
on, man. Like, I have longer arms than him. I've got really long arms for a 5'9" guy. I could poke people in the eyes all day long if I want to. I've got faster feet than anybody. I've got faster feet than anybody, especially for my size. I could easily jump right into your eyeball. You know what I mean? So, whatever. You know, my eyes are good.
Okay, so I was going to ask, so were you, at any point were you visually impaired? I've talked to numerous fighters who've been poked in the eye before and said, "Yeah, I couldn't hardly see, but you can't say anything to the referee because they're going to stop the fight." Were your eyes fine the entire time, or you don't want to talk about it, or
Big Dan was at the rules meeting. He was the one talking. He says the magic words you cannot say are "I can't see." I
Mhm.
learned that in the first fight I had in BKFC because I had too much blood in my eye, and they
Sure.
were cleaning it out. And I said, "Clean more of it out." And they said, "Excuse me." And I said, "Clean my eye out. I can't see." That didn't mean I couldn't see out of my eyeball. It just meant that there was blood in my eye, and that's how they stopped my first BKFC fight. So I couldn't say anything, but
Right.
yes, the fingers in my eye were fucking bothersome.
Sure. Okay, so they did take a point. Is it one of those things like you get poked in the eye? Like, I know you have up to 5 minutes to recover. Is it one of those things you want to take all 5 minutes? You don't want to start coming down, so you don't want to take 5 minutes. You want to jump back in right away. Like, what's your mindset when you're coming off a foul like that? Like, are you trying to like recover as much as possible?
There's two fights that come to mind. First fight was the fight with Keith Richardson and Brandon Connolly. The last fight those two had, right? Keith was pouring it on. Okay, he was pouring it on to Connolly. He was working his double jab. He was coming over the top with the right hand. He was coming underneath with the uppercut. He started to wear down Brandon Connolly, and I knew how that felt because Keith was doing the double right hand to me, the cross and then the uppercut. And it's effective. Okay. Keith's not putting all of his power into it, but Keith, once he pours it on you and you start leaking, you might panic a little bit, right? And that's what happened with Brandon, I believe. He started to panic and he put his hands out. And what Brandon does is he jumps straight backwards like this, puts his hand out, and as you go forward, you are going to run into that.
Right.
And so what happened was uh um Brandon got a pinky in his eye. Not Brandon. Keith got Brandon's pinky in his eye, or maybe it was his thumb. And you can see Keith take a step back and he wipes his eye. And as soon as that happens, I have the videos. Eye in the sky doesn't lie. As soon as that happens, Brandon does that lunging jab cross hook. And unfortunately, Keith kind of rebounded. And unfortunately, Keith just stood square in front of him like a tree and gets cracked with a three-punch combo. And then the referee the doctors actually stopped the fight for Keith because Keith had a lacerated eyelid.
Right.
You don't get a lacerated eyelid from a knuckle. You get a lacerated eyelid typically from a fingernail. So that's the first fight that I think about when it comes to the fingers, right? The second fight that I can think of was Mick Turrell versus Ben Rothwell.
Sure.
So I'm gonna give Mick Turrell credit here. Mick's a lot better than what he showed in that fight, but this is how Ben Rothwell fights. But he has his hand open. And
Right.
Ben sits back on his rear foot. Ben's huge and he's long. And if he's sitting back and he's waving in your face, what are you gonna do? You gotta get low, you gotta go angles. Mick went to his right, which was Ben's left. He got poked, did not take enough time, and that was your fault, Mick. I wish you would have took enough time. Didn't take enough time, and then because he was avoiding the left hand, ran right into the right hand, and that was really sad to see. I love you, Mick.
It is kind of crazy because Brandon and Ben both have basically the same thing. Both catch people in the eye. Like it. We've talked to Sean before, and he said he thought that the next rule change for BKFC was going to have to do with the clinch, but it sounds like it might have to do with fighters keeping that lead hand closed.
Well, before we do that, what are they trying to change in the clinch?
He just thinks that like when you got two guys and they clinch up and they're just throwing like the little hammer fist, he doesn't think that should necessarily count as points and stuff like that. It's not necessarily an active clinch. And it's not that I'll send you the clip, but he's just saying like he thinks that they can continue to evolve and make the clinch either more active or know when to break it.
Fuck all that. I got a better one for you. If somebody like Brandon Connolly is constantly bending over, right, as you're punching him, he's exposing the back of his head and he's covering his face and he's bent over. That should either be scored a fucking knockdown or they should waive the fight off. If you're bent over, that is a clear, clear act of submission. If you're bending over in a fist fight, that is a clear act of submission. Fucking literally count it as a knockdown or waive the fight off. Or if somebody's shooting their head under your armpit every fucking time you try to punch them, and I mean
Right.
every time you try to punch them because they're scared or they're hurt, standing guillotine choke should be allowed for 5 seconds. The referee should go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, break it up. That'll stop a guy from diving on you because I got the best guillotine out there. If anybody fucking shoots their head under my armpit and it's MMA, they're getting choked, right? So if it's
Sure.
boxing and you just keep putting your head down there, you're bent over. I'm not talking about squatting down. If you're bent over at the waist like this,
Yeah.
okay, and I'm right here, and this is you, and you're doing this shit, it's like, man, it's fucking frustrating. And then you want to talk about entertainment, okay? So let's get off of me and my selfish endeavors as to why I want it to be done. That's not entertaining for
No.
fans to see somebody hiding, bent over, exposing the back of the head. I could have punched him in the back of his head so many fucking times, but I didn't. Why? Because I want to I want to help BKFC grow, and I want to help BKFC grow, and not just a sport where everybody looks like a bunch of barbaric, crazy fucking murderers, right? I want it to have, oh, they're skilled, etc. Like we're bringing in boxers, we're
Sure.
bringing in really good boxers, and that's just if we could take anything away from my fight, bending over for a long period of time, like staying down and like that, dude. If you're not going to score it as a knockdown, if you're not going to have the fight, take a fucking point. That's stalling. That's stalling.
I'm one of those guys like BKFC. I believe doesn't have a standing 8 count, and I would like to see a standing 8 count added for because, like you just said, something like that. There's been numerous times where someone's absolutely getting rocked, and I just or they're just covering up and they're doing nothing. And I would love to see, hey, give them a standing 8 count, and make it at least make points. Make force them to change. Going forward, do something. But I just would love to see a standing 8 count added.
Yeah, I think it would be great because I think at that point that's a standing 8 count, and I think if you're hitting somebody and they're running backwards and they run into the ropes and the ropes hold them up, um, maybe that
That's a
should be a
knockdown.
standing 8 count. I mean, I'm not a
Absolutely.
referee, and I'm not ever going to tell the referees how to do their jobs. But if I know that an opponent is using their hands to illegally or they're doing anything illegally, and I got to fight them, we're here to have a fair fight under the rules, right?
Sure.
And so by the rules of BKFC, I'll follow those rules, and I'll do so because um, I am a confident, I am a certain man, and I don't need any extra benefits to help me win.
Okay, now this is gonna be a tough question. I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but you posted no more Mr. Nice Guy. What did you mean about that?
Okay, so my faith as a Christian, as a born again Christian, actually, I believed in Christ for a very long time, but I was never consciously baptized. I was baptized as a child, but I was recently consciously baptized. And so, with that said, um, I'm a very loving person. I'm a very friendly and empathetic person. But in that ring, I need to put my love, I need to put my empathy outside of the ring, or at least need to just focus on me, focus on my family, focus on my vindications, my virtues, and apply those into winning. And
Sure.
so I ran over to Brandon in the beginning of the fight. I ran over to him to give him knuckles, and he reached out to give me a hug, and he said, "All glory to God." And I said, "Yes, sir." And then I was standing across from him, and I was staring a hole through him, and he did that, and then I did that. I was mirroring him, which I shouldn't have done. Mirroring means that if you do something and somebody else does something, it means that you have the mental lead. So
Right.
I gave him that, but it was about God. So I was like, okay, this one is this is an exception. So um, we walked up to the scratch. I said, "Keep your hands closed." And as soon as the first punch I landed on Brandon, he goes, good, like, said something like that, and like, uh, and when he hit me with one, I was like, nice shot, and I was like, here it's coming. I told him it's coming, and then I hit him with another one, and we were just having friendly banter in there. We were having fun, and look, in sparring, that's great.
Sure.
We're not sparring. Dave Feldman isn't paying us to spar, right?
Right.
And so here's my apology to BKFC. I'm an empathetic person. I'm putting that empathetic because it sounds pathetic, right? I'm putting that out of my character outside of the ring. Okay? What you can expect from now on is you can expect Cody Vidal to enter the ring to kill the opponent who signed the contract to also try, and I say try to kill me.
Sure.
So, um, respect again to Brandon. But uh, this as you get older, as you grow older and you become a better person overall, you start to adopt all those qualities, and then it becomes. You and I talked about this about character development and about ego,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
Right. It is my character to love people. It is my character to help people. Okay. In the fight, it is also my character to win. And by the rules of BKFC, I will use those rules and I will win.
So we do a live chat every time there's a fight, and it's great. And there'll be 50, 60 people, and they're talking about the fight. The one thing that people were saying about during your fight is they said these guys are friends, and they said I don't want to see them hug anymore. I don't want to see them joke with each other anymore. I don't want to see them like give knuckles, and they said I wish these two guys would just get in there and slug it out. So it sounds exactly like what you just kind of realized too. People were like, these guys aren't. I feel like, yeah, clearly you're trying to go as hard as you can, but also, you kept some of that hatred, locked away. And it sounds like going forward, that won't be the issue anymore.
Yeah. So besides the obvious tactics that fighters use of making fighting defensively, right? Like
Sure.
I fought defensively in a way where I'm not going to open myself and get caught. Brandon has a really nice left hook. Um, Going in the fight, I knew his left hook was really wide. He seemed to have tightened it up. His straight right was really good. His jab was really good. And so I knew that if I opened up, there was a chance of me getting caught. So as confident and as certain as I am as a fighter, I'm not going to run around with my chin sticking in the air, right?
Sure.
I'm a wise person. But what you saw in the fifth round, if I could do that in the fifth round, I could do that in the first round, the second round, the third round, the fourth round. And that is my blitzing. Very fucking good at closing the distance. I've got the fastest feet for anybody my size, and I do have really good head movement when I use it. And so, um, going back to the hands though, that was an obstacle. And in the fifth round, you can see right when I blitzed Brandon and hurt him, he stuck his hand out, and
Right.
I just missed his pinky by slipping my head off the center line. And you saw the damage that I did. And I'm telling you, Brandon, if you want to do the rematch, I want the rematch. It's not because I don't like you, it's because I respect you, but it's because I deserve to beat you fair and square. I deserve to beat you fair and square because what you were doing wasn't fair, brother. It wasn't. And if you keep your hands closed, I'm getting around that every single time. I'm going to hurt you every single time. You're going to have to deal with what you dealt with every single time. You're going to have to deal with that ADHD, that aggressive, deadly, hyperactive destroyer.
Is that the fight you want? Like you want an immediate rematch? You'd like to, go back to the drawing board, do somebody else and run it back later down the line, or like you want redemption right away?
I don't want to use the word redemption. I want the rematch. If the rematch is not in the cards, I want a top 10, top 5.
Sure.
I just want the title. I don't have any personal issues with anybody. BKFC is like family to me. Okay. And I want to reiterate this again because this is outside the ring. Remember, I said inside the ring, killer, outside the ring, kind. I like Brandon. I told him, I hope you pay off the house you have. I hope you have a wonderful life with your 3 children. And that's that. But inside the ring, whoever's next is just one step closer to the title, to the championship. Because I just don't want to win the title for myself. I want to win the title for my son. I want my son to walk around knowing that his dad's a champion.
Sure.
Because those are the men that I sought growing up. I sought champions because I didn't have my father in my life. And so for my son, I want to win that title for my son. I want to win the title for a lot of different reasons, but outside of winning the title for my son and for myself, for my lady, I want to win that championship because I really want to be a good representation of combat sports. I want to be a good representation of virtuous violence.
Absolutely. Okay, the 185 title is coming up. You have Mike Richmond versus Josh D-Day Dyer. Do you have a prediction for that fight?
I don't know enough about Dyer to make a prediction. I will say that Mike Richmond is an undersized 185 guy. He's shorter,
Sure.
and I like that about him because, like Brandon Connolly, like me, we're not the tallest guys, and I always love to see the shorter guy destroy. Like I love a King David versus Goliath situation.
You're a
You know
giant killer fan. Yeah.
exactly. So when God wanted to make David a king, He didn't give David a crown. He sent David a giant, and David killed the giant, and then David earned his crown. So I don't know enough about Dyer, but I hope Mike Richmond wins. And Mike Richmond has a very, very good right hook, and I think anybody that gets cracked by that is not going to have a good time.
Absolutely. Okay. Your fiance told us you do great impressions. Right now, I feel like
Impersonation.
you got impersonation. Sorry. Right now, I feel like you got a pretty good raccoon going, but can you do some impersonations for us?
Are you a professional wrestling fan, or were you?
Yes, I was at one point. Yes, sir.
Okay, who was your favorite professional wrestler?
I really liked Brett the Hitman Hart.
Bret the Hitman Hart? What was always his saying? What was always his saying?
The whole best there is, the best there was, the best
Yeah,
there. I liked Hulk Hogan.
yeah.
I liked Randy. I was old school. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You like Hulk Hogan, brother?
Yep, brother.
Yeah.
Who are
So
some of your favorites?
oh man, what'd you say?
I was curious who your favorite
What?
pro wrestler.
What?
Right.
You want to hear an impersonation?
Yes, sir.
What? Well, if you want to hear an impersonation, it's not about what you want to hear. It's about what I want too. I want 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, 4 beers, 5 beers, 6 beers, a shot of tequila, a shot of whiskey, a shot of Jack, a shot of Secret 7. Mix it all together. Make me a black tooth grin. What? Is that good enough?
That was a
It doesn't matter what you think, jabroni. All that matters is that Cody Vidal is standing in the BKFC ring with the championship around his waist because Cody Vidal is the most electrifying. He is the show stopping. He is the greatest bare knuckle fighter to ever grace that circle. And that's the bottom line. Coach Vidal said so.
I had honestly had you had a head shaved, I would have thought I was talking to the man himself.
You said Hulk Hogan was your favorite, right?
He was one of my favorites for sure.
You want to get a leg drop, brother? Yeah, I can't do it right now because my hands
Yeah.
are broke. This was a nice shirt, damn it! I just stretched it out.
No,
Fuck
I
Hulk
didn't want
Hogan.
you to ruin that. That looked like a nice shirt. Like don't tear your shirt for me. Let me ask you this. Like how did you come out? I mean, you got a little bit of swelling on the eyes. How are the hands? Like how any other injuries that you can tell us about?
Okay, I'm not allowed to talk about injuries from the fight. All right,
Sure.
but I could tell you injuries before the fight if that's okay. If you think that's smart.
check with your management team before. But yeah, I just wasn't sure. Like, it seems like every
You
time there's
said
a
no,
fight.
no, no. So I won't give specifics.
Sure.
Okay.
It seems like
Let
every time there's a fight, though, it's always like, oh, I broke my hand, but then it's like, oh, it wasn't broke, it was just super bruised. But I just,
yeah. That happens a lot. I'll just say this: for all of my BKFC fights, I was not able to use all of my tools. Okay. We have 4 limbs. We have 2 arms. We have 2 legs. Okay. So if you watch my fight with Brandon, you didn't see any left hooks out of me till like the fifth and final round, and you could use your imagination as to why. But when I did start firing my left hook in the fifth and final round, that's what fucking caught him.
sure.
Yeah, we get off the scratch. He steps at me, I jab him, and then he steps at me again. He gets really low because he thought he was gonna get on the inside of me. You're not gonna win an inside war with me. It's just not gonna happen. I don't give a fuck who you are. And he came to come in, and I went, pop, cracked him with like a long range left hook, which is I'm ambidextrous. I've got power in both hands. I love my left hook,
Right.
and I haven't been able to use my left hook, a nice tight left hook, in any of these BKFC fights. So I cracked him with like a nice long range left hook, and I saw him take a step back, and I was like, okay, it's blitz time, and that's when I blitzed him. And the punch that I cracked him with that started it all during that blitz was a left hook. It came right through his guard, beautiful, go through his guard right on his chin, and you see him start backpedaling. And I missed him with a right hook as he was rocking back, as he was taking a step back. I missed him with a right hook that would have killed an elephant. So, yeah, man. I haven't been able to use all my tools, and then it's kind of common knowledge now that I had a ACL reconstructive surgery a
Right.
couple years ago, and so I don't even turn on my punches all the way. So when you see me hitting people with arm punches, and you see the damage that's being afflicted with an arm punch, I hit fucking hard. And I'm not saying I hit hard because I think I hit hard. I'm saying I hit hard because everybody says I hit hard.
Right. So let me ask you this: like you say, going into these fights, you're never 100%. Is it training camp issues? Is it before even the fight gets signed to you that you end up picking up an injury? Like, or are you just a guy who's never 100% going into a fight?
Um, so I don't even lift weights,
Okay.
and I started lifting weights for this fight camp. It was like 6 weeks. It was about 6 weeks from the fight, and I started lifting weights, and I ended up I'm not going to say where, but I ended up tearing 2 different muscle groups.
Okay.
Not like a full tear, but it was bad, dude. And
Sure.
I have videos and I have photos of it. And so I didn't train for 3 weeks of this fight. So I didn't spar. I did not have one single sparring session, like an actual sparring session. I did like small gloves with my buddy, my coach Tyler Smith. Shout out Tyler Smith. Love you, brother. Tyler Smith was just in dirty. So let me talk about Tyler Smith real quick. Tyler Smith,
Go
my
for it.
coach, my best friend, quartered me in BKFC in Pennsylvania. Then I switched his flight for him so he could go to Miami the next day and fucking corner our teammate Jeff Craig, who just won uh his dirty boxing debut with a second round TKO with a nice double uppercut. And
I can't lie. I saw that guy and I was like, I don't know how this dude's gonna fight, and he fucking impressed the shit out of me yesterday. I was like, because I was like, he's kind of like he's the blonde dude from California, right?
Jeff Frax, yeah. So Jeff is in California with us, but go on.
Yeah. Anyway, so like like going in, I was like, who is this kid? Like I had never, and granted, like quite a few of the people on Dirty Boxing I had never seen before, but I watched that fight and I was actually really impressed with Craig was his last name, right?
Yeah, Jeff is a lethal striker. Jeff and he analyzes fights really well, and he's got really good kicks, really good elbows. I've seen him dismantle a lot of people in training. I've sparred with Jeff. Jeff's a big, sturdy dude. He's got hands, he's got elbows, he's got feet, he's got shins, like he's got knees, he's got it all. And so, if Dirty Boxing wants a really good champion, yeah, classic fight team out of Fountain Valley, California. Yeah. So going back to Tyler Smith. Tyler
Yeah.
Smith is he's my coach, and he's the only person ever dropped me in a fight ever, ever. Now I got up smiling, but yeah, he's the only person, and I say that because I want to give him kudos. Now, going back to the whole injury, conversation is I spar Tyler. Tyler's 6'1". He's got long limbs, and so he's a great sparring partner for anybody. But um, we use the small gloves, and it's more like play sparring. But when it comes to like actually having a sparring session with like real timing and real power, I didn't have a single sparring session for this fight. So you just saw me do a 5-round war with 2 injuries. And I got them on video. They happened on video while training. And you saw what you saw. So if anybody out there thinks that, that was the best version of me,
Sure.
think again.
Okay, we were supposed to keep this short, but you and I, we love to talk. I love to ask you questions. You love to tell us, and I feel like I learn something every time. So it's always great. Rematch against Brandon. If not, is there? You said top 5, top 10, 185. Did that feel great to be at 185? Is that you're going to stick there?
Hey, first fight was at 205 on 3 weeks' notice. Second fight, I had a good amount of time.
That was at 195, right, for your second fight?
That was at 195. Yeah, it was supposed to be 185, but he couldn't make the weight, so I did 195. Right. Going to that second round, I felt like I was in a dream. I didn't even feel like physically there. Like
Okay.
so, like if that fight would have went on any further, he was gonna be in a bad way. And that fight against Conley was like, I'm gonna say this too. So I use my hypnotherapy and I use a lot of prayer. And this was the calmest I ever was for a fight. This was the best I ever was for a fight. I had my best friend with me, my coach. I had my fiance with me who helps manage me. I had those two with me. That's all I needed. I did not leave the locker room. I had my own private room. I did not watch a single fucking fight because I wanted to make sure that everything I was going to do to Brandon in my fight was in my head and only that. I replayed our fight in my head over and over again before we actually went out there. And I didn't warm up. And the reason why I didn't warm up is because I love this calm feeling so much that I felt like if I warmed up, I could have possibly actually harmed that energy I felt. I was not nervous. I was not scared at all. And I took the energy to the ring. And when I made eye contact with Brandon, I make sure he broke his eye contact first. And when that happened, I knew I won. And so, lessons learned, I should have warmed up more because for the first 4 rounds of Brandon's fight night, that was me warming up.
Sure.
Seriously, that was me warming up.
Yeah.
Everybody's in the back of the room, they're cracking pads and whatnot. No, I was fucking laying down and I was just breathing. I was just doing breathing exercises. That's it.
It's one of those things like you want to keep that clear mind, but you also want everything warmed up and stuff like that. So it's you're gonna have to find that happy medium. But like I said, you looked phenomenal. I loved how patient you were. I love how it seemed like this is the best version of you. And like I said, I still am so confused how you didn't pull out the win. But it is what it is.
Let's talk about stats, brother. Real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and throw the stats out for me, please.
So BKFC brought the stats out yesterday. Babe, can you pull up the Instagram post I had? Bring me the phone, please, so I can read it off here. All right, let's just talk logic. Take all the emotion out, take all the ego out, take all the memes and the eyes, right?
Right.
Okay. So, round number 1, I fired 22 punches. Oh, let me drag this over here. In round number 1, okay. Yeah, it's gonna load here.
No worries.
Okay, pause it right there. Round number 1, I fired 20 punches and landed 14. He fired 12 and landed 6. Okay.
So I mean, to me, that says you won the first round.
First round was easy meat, regardless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second round, I fired 22 punches. He fired 28. I landed 13. He landed 16. Let's give him the second round.
Let's do it.
Okay, round number 3, I fired 21, and I landed. What's it say there? It's not letting me see it, but I landed way more than him, and he only landed 9. Okay. Round number 4, he landed 25. I only landed 12. Give him round 4. And then Round 5, I landed 32 to his 19.
Right.
So overall, I landed like I think it was 82 punches to his 75. And then here, let's do it. Just keep watching. Keep watching. It's gonna show
I'm
up here.
watching.
Get knocked out in 4 seconds, in 2 seconds, in 6. You have
You
to
got
be
me.
very smart. You have to be intelligent.
He got me twice, he said.
Yep, you got me.
So much love to you, Brandon. Thank you for the fight. You're a warrior. Thank you for all the compliments. Regardless if you accept the fight with me again or not, the title is mine. The championship is mine. And that's the bottom line. Because Vidal said so.
All right, I just want one more last statement. We talked to you and I talked last time, and then your management hit me up, or Gabriel hit me up afterwards, and he said everybody's sleeping on you, but they're going to be blown away. I feel like we should have been blown away at this last fight, but now the next fight we're for sure going to be blown away because you know no more Mr. Nice Guy, and it, like I said, it's just going to be completely different going forward too.
Yeah, so let's talk about this subject real quick.
Okay.
I don't like saying this. I don't want it to be true. But I did an interview with a guy from Europe, and he asked me what my greatest weakness is. And I sat there and I talked to my subconscious mind. I opened my eyes and I go, I like getting hit.
Yeah.
I like getting hit. I don't know why. Oh, well, there's probably lots of reasons I know why. But like as soon as somebody hits me, like let's say I'm moving around, whatnot, and they swing at me and they miss, and then I go forward and they hit me, automatically it's almost like I have like this alter ego, just like a demon, and it's like, you just touched me.
Right.
Okay. And then, obviously the sport is hit and don't get hit. Obviously anybody can land a knockout punch, right? But at that point I start using my forehead. I'm like, okay, let's go.
Right.
And look at my forehead. My forehead broke Brandon Connolly's left hand. Brandon Connolly's hands did not break me.
No. All right. Any shout outs, any messages or anything before we call it a day?
Shout out again to Tyler Smith, Savannah Gonzalez. Shout out to my son, Victor. Shout out to Dave Feldman, Nate Shook, Conor McGregor running for president, Ireland. Hey Conor, I want dual citizenship. When you become president, I want to be a citizen of Ireland. Shout out to Gabriel Rapisarda, my manager, who I will be seeing here later today. Shout out to Nate Shook, the matchmaker. They like my new look, by the way. They said this is the look I should keep.
Yeah.
Shout out to Disciple MMA. They're actually the management for Brendan Connolly. Good people there. Scott of Disciple MMA is good guy. Shout out to Brandon Connolly. Shout out to his coach Josh. Josh, very nice guy. Shout out to Chillicothe, Ohio. Your boy represented you well. Shout out to all the NCAA wrestlers that wrestled over the weekend. All
For
the ones
sure.
I met. I actually met that heavyweight champion and didn't get a photo with him. I met him at the airport going to the fight.
Really?
Going to
That's
my
cool.
fight. Yeah. And something told me to get a photo with him. I started talking to his team, but I didn't get a photo with him. Shout out to Penn State University for putting on a really good run. I don't know how many champions made it, but I know that they put 10 people in
Right.
after the first day. All 10 made it. Shout out to the 2300 arena. All of the brotherly love in Philadelphia. It was amazing. It was amazing returning back to Pennsylvania. Everyone was so kind. Everyone was so receptive. Shout out to my brothers Brandon and Ryan Vidal. Shout out to my brother Zachary Vidal. Rest in peace. Shout out to my sister Alyssa Vidal. She couldn't be there. And my brothers on my dad's side, William, Billy, Christopher. I can keep going. But sorry, I'm getting sentimental here, getting off track. But classic fight team, Fountain Valley, where I train out of, UFC gym in Huntington Beach. And let me just think here a little bit more. Um, shout out to everybody on BKFC. Thank you so much, BKFC. You guys are my family. Um, apologize if I annoy some of you, but if I am, just let me know and I'll be receptive and I'll correct that behavior.
Awesome. All right, we'll give Gabriel a high five. I was actually really disappointed. I talked to him because I'm going to Dubai. I'm cornering Stridham for the main event over there. And I was like, hey, I finally get to meet you. And he's like, no, I'm preparing for the biggest event ever in Italy, so I'm not going. So I'm disappointed.
Yeah, Gabriel's an amazing person. He's very, very, very good person. So I'd be disappointed too.
All right, man. Well, good luck. Let's talk again when we get some fight news.
All right, brother. God bless you.
Thanks for your time. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.